Fallout 4 received one of its greatest weapon mods, and somehow I failed to cover it. I just never got around to it, so today we're going to be talking about a very, very special weapon mod known as the Chinese Pistol Set by Nihe. This is going to be more than one standard weapon. There's actually going to be a few options in here with tons of customization and pretty much every single feature you could possibly need for a complete weapon mod, and all of it is extremely top tier. This weapon is going to prominently feature the Chinese pistol from Fallout 3 as a wonderful recreation of the real-life Mauser that is represented in Fallout as the Chinese pistol. Now, there are a few Chinese pistol mods out there on the Nexus, but this one is by far one of the greatest options when it comes to the amount of content available inside of it, the animations provided, the wonderful models and textures, again, custom animations, which is a very, very important part of this mod, complete integration into the world, and a bunch of other little goodies that make this weapon very, very special. For starters, like I said, this thing does have custom models and textures, and those are made by Stefan Engdahl, a wonderful, wonderful modder that you may know by the name of AsXaz. Because of this, the models on this weapon are going to be absolutely excellent. Wonderful recreations of the real-life weapon, supremely accurate, with a ton of really, really cool options available over at the weapons workbench. And the textures are amazing to boot. They look really, really good. They fit right at home with the rest of the Fallout 4 textures, but also look a little bit higher quality. Quite frankly, it's just a nice weapon to look at. Additionally, this weapon does come with custom sounds and custom animations, those animations being provided by Nihe, who is really talented in the animation scene of things. That's going to include multiple animation sets depending on how you want to run this weapon. That's going to be clip reloads, magazine reloads, and a couple of other really, really cool options. This weapon is also highly customizable, offering not only pistol variants, but carbine variants, versions with grips, full auto, semi-auto, magazines, clip-fed. Pretty much anything you could want for this weapon is available, and quite frankly, that makes this weapon very, very fun to use. Other great features of this mod include the fact that it is available in two different versions, one with an ESP and one with an ESL if you're really hurting for load order space. On top of that, this weapon is also available for Xbox as well as PC, so you can get it whether you're on console or on the normal PC platform. Now, of course, one of the biggest things with this weapon is also going to be integration. How do you get your hands on a Chinese pistol in Fallout 4? Well, this weapon is actually initially found over at the Yangtze submarine. That, of course, is the Chinese submarine, so if you go ahead and go over there, you're going to be able to find one of these weapons. Once you've obtained it for the first time, though, you can make more by heading over to the chemistry station. Basically, once you've obtained the recipe, you can have more of these guys. Now, there are two different versions of this weapon. There is the Mark I and the Mark II. Once you've obtained the Mark I from the Yangtze, you'll be able to craft the Mark I, and once you've crafted the Mark I, you can then craft the Mark II, and they are a little bit different. We'll show those off a little bit later at the weapons workbench so you can really see the difference between those two weapons. Now, while that's the only way to find the standard variants of this pistol, they are not integrated into the world in terms of standard leveled lists, you can actually get them one other way, which is the legendary loot pool. If you kill a legendary enemy, there is a chance that you will find one of these pistols. Both the Mark I and the Mark II variants will start showing up in the legendary loot pool after level 12. So if you're hoping not to have to head all the way over to the Yangtze, it is possible that you will find one on a legendary enemy, which is really cool because you'll also get it with a nice legendary effect. Now, that covers most of the basics for this weapon, but let's go ahead and head in-game to start checking out some of the finer features of this weapon, starting out with its stats and moving on to some things like animations and attachments, etc. Now, when it comes to the stats of this weapon, the standard damage is going to be somewhere in the ballpark of 25 to 30, depending on your attachments. Of course, my damage is going to be quite a bit different thanks to some perks that I have that I cannot remove. So you're going to have to ignore that and trust that it's about in the range of 20, somewhere around the regular 10mm pistol. This thing does use 10mm just like it did in Fallout 3, so it's a nice recreation of the weapon there. There's a fire rate of 46 in semi-automatic, but that can be changed to full auto thanks to a lot of attachments available. We have a range of 125, an accuracy of 64, a weight of 3 pounds, and a value of 47 caps. Now, you'll notice that this is the Mark I Chinese pistol. Like I said, there is also a Mark II that can be crafted. Now, statistically, they're mostly the same. The biggest difference is that the Mark I is going to be your semi-auto option, and the Mark II is going to be your full auto option that also has a magazine. This is going to have an internal magazine, which is going to use a stripper clip reload, whereas the Mark II has a removable magazine that comes in different sizes. And that's the biggest difference between the two weapons, which, to be fair, is a pretty notable difference. As you can see here, we have the Mark II variant with the detachable magazine. I also have a front grip and a stock, just to showcase how different this weapon can be. In full auto, This makes for a really, really cool little submachine gun of sorts. A very fun weapon indeed with a nice look to it that's also super lore friendly. This thing looks awesome. Now let's go ahead and check out the animations to see how these two differ in their reload styles. For starters, of course, we need to check out the regular old pistol, which has a nice one-handed animation. Go ahead and mag dump this thing really quick. As you can see, a very, very nice stripper clip reload. And of course, it has some pretty good sights too. They are off kilter a little bit, meaning they are a little bit angled. They're a little canted. They're not super straight up and down, and that's because it is a one-handed animation. But even with that, it is still a pretty accurate weapon. Able to hit these targets pretty easily. Well, relatively easily. Huh. Smaller targets having a bit of trouble. It seems the sights are actually just a tad bit misaligned. They shoot a little bit higher than the sights do. But now that you know that, you shouldn't be able to miss your shots too bad. There are some alternate iron sights as well that might make that a little bit better. But we also have some other animations to check out in the form of the carbine variant, which as you can see has a nice foregrip. You can also remove that foregrip if you want to. And this thing is also in full auto and has a detachable mag. Let's go ahead and check that reload out as well. A very fun and different style of reload. Let's actually see how accurate these iron sights are. They do look a little bit wobbly and possibly a little bit misaligned. Let's see if that's true. Trying to hit these targets the best that I can using the front post. It would appear that this particular set of iron sights is actually much more accurate. So it may just be that the standard iron sights are a little bit off, but these improved iron sights seem to be a bit more accurate. They do wobble quite a bit, but the front post seems to be a lot more on point. Now then, let's talk about some of the attachments available for this weapon, and there are quite a few for both variants, so let's go ahead and check them out now. For the standard Mark I Chinese pistol, we have some receiver options, standard up through advanced, nothing too crazy or special there. For barrels, we have the Mark I barrel, the Mark II barrel, which is going to change out the iron sights for those improved iron sights, and then the Mark III barrel, which is going to be a very, very long option, perfect for a carbine setup. For the muzzle, we have the option for no muzzle or a suppressor, and that is it, sadly. No other options there. I would like to see more, but it just is what it is. You kind of get what you get. For stocks, we have the option for no stock and a Mark I stock. Now, that might seem limited, but there is a lot more going on there on the other variant of this weapon. And then for handguard, we have the option for no handguard, a heat shield, a horizontal handguard, a Mark II handguard, and a Mark III vertical foregrip, which is definitely one of the cooler options available in this mod, and that's going to change up the animations quite a bit. But of course, we also have attachments over for the Mark II, which are a bit different. The Mark II has some pretty similar receivers. However, we also have Mark III receivers, which are a bit different. You'll notice they even changed the stock out. So because of that, let's go ahead and grab a Mark III receiver and see how that changes things for us. For barrels, we have the same things with Mark I, II, and III. Nothing is really different there. For magazines, a new category, we have 10 rounds, 20, 30, and 40. We have the option for the suppressor once again. We have the option for the same handguards that we had before. And then we have the option to change this thing from semi-auto to full auto, which is a really, really nice feature as well. Now, one thing you'll notice is we don't have a stock category. That's because this Mark III has a built-in full stock that is exclusive to this particular variant. If we change that back over to the different variants of receivers, you'll notice that they all change the stocks. This is the Mark III stock here. We also have the Mark II, which is going to be a pretty standard broom handle. And then up here, the Mark II light receiver actually looks quite different as well. It's a lot more like the Mark I with a different color grip and an internal magazine. So let's go ahead and put the Mark II back on. And if we look at the stocks, we have the option for no stock and the Mark I stock, much like the original. So it kind of changes depending on which version of the receiver you decide to have, which is pretty interesting. It definitely makes you want to pick and choose what style of receiver you want because it opens up different options depending on what attachments you want later down the line. But yeah, I think that covers pretty much everything for this weapon. An absolutely wonderful recreation of the Chinese pistol, or better known as the Mauser pistol. This is a really, really cool mod. It's definitely one of the better mods to see this year, possibly one of the best. The only thing I would change personally is I would love to see some leveled integration into the standard leveled. The Chinese pistol is a prominent weapon in Fallout. We see it a lot in Fallout 3, and there's no reason we wouldn't see it around Fallout 4 as well. Now then, if you want to try this mod out for yourself, it will be linked down in the description. And while you're down there, if you enjoyed this video, consider dropping it a like. It really helps me out and lets me know what kind of videos you guys like to see. Additionally, consider checking me out on Patreon if you'd like to support my work directly. Whether it's the videos I make here on YouTube or the mods I make over on the Nexus, I've got a lot of stuff going on, and if you'd like to support that, you can do so over at Patreon. That, of course, is completely optional. By no means do you feel like you need to do that. Now then, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace!